Howdy, boys and girls. Welcome back. It is week 8 of the college football season, and therefore week 8 of the Carla and Crappy Show, and whatever week it is of our Jeopardy guest host series. In introducing this week's guest host, I won't say the timing is good. I'm not sure he would agree with that characterization, but we can say that this worked out to be the right week for Tyler Batiste to be on the Carla and Crappy Show. Tyler, I work with Tyler at the Post-Gazette, both on the web team, and then when he was in charge of the sports department at PG, he is now the managing editor for the Athletics NBA coverage, which means he's about to get really, really busy. So I'm glad we got him like today, because the rest of the time he's going to be tied up for a while. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm good, Mike. It's good to see you. It's good to talk to you. It's been a while.
It has been. I mean, neither of us were in the office when you got your, like, not really new gig now, but
right.
So yeah, it has been a long time since I've been able to see it and chat for a little bit.
It's weird. It's always weird with social media, because you go months without seeing people. And
I know.
You're like, oh yeah, well, I mean, I see this person on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, but yeah, it's been close to a year.
You kind of feel like you're in touch, but it's not really the same thing.
Right.
I wanted, when I was mapping out who would be good guest hosts while Carla is on maternity leave, Tyler was one of the first people I thought of, because A, friend of mine, B, college football fan. Specifically.
Yeah, we buried the lead here. Why this is good timing for me.
Specifically, he's a proud graduate of the Louisiana State University, which has had some stuff happen in the last couple of days.
That's right.
We're not gonna bury the lead any further. We're gonna jump right to what's going on there. I guess what your reaction. I mean, I was literally texting you to confirm this when I started getting push notifications about Ed Orgeron being done after the season is over.
Right. Right.
First reaction was what?
Not entirely surprised. I think the surprising part to me was that very rarely, as you know, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners know, that you don't see a situation where a move like this happens in the middle of October and the two sides agree that they are going to finish out the season with the status quo, for 5 or 6 games, or even 7 games if there's a bowl game at the end of things. Normally you see a change made, but a lot of changes in terms of just, number one, the competitive environment, but as you know, the signing period is in December, so you kind of want to have some stability for a lot of these high school kids who are going through the recruiting process, and they know that Ed Orgeron is not going to be there anymore, and so they've got some decisions that need to be made. I still keep my ear to the ground there pretty closely. I still have friends who cover the team, and also 1 or 2 sources myself who I can talk to every now and then to kind of get a feel for what's going on behind the scenes. And this seemed like it was something that wasn't terribly unexpected. I think the timing of it is what kind of threw me and a lot of other people off. But it's wild. It's great. I mean, we're less than 2 years from a national title, and
that's
arguably
the crazy thing.
Greatest season of all time that this has happened. So kind of a shock that it happened, especially coming off of a win too.
Coming off of a big win, that was a fun game. I had no Ohio State game, so I parked my butt on the couch and watched football for 12 hours on Saturday.
Always nice. Nice.
And that was one of the fun games of the day, no question. And I was happy for you that you got the win over Florida, and then this stuff comes up. Did it need to happen? I mean, maybe you gave me just the sportswriter reaction. What's your reaction as a grad, as a fan? Did this need to happen?
I think so. I think even if you take into account a lot of the off the field stuff that happened with Orgeron and LSU, which I'm going to plug here, was detailed in fantastic detail by Brody Miller of The Athletic, who covers LSU and coincidentally was also an intern with us at the Post-Gazette back in 2016. But Brody did a really good job of over at The Athletic at detailing kind of what the behind the scenes situation was. There was a lot of LSU has been mired in some Title IX issues over the past few years. There were some allegations of Ed Orgeron not properly handling certain situations, whether it be some of them, criminal, some of them, even dealing with some of the inner workings of the team and related to a lot of protests and social justice things that happened within the past couple of years. A lot of allegations about what he did and what he didn't do. So I think it's sad to say, because it's college football a lot of times is a big business. That if he would have kept winning, I don't know if this would have happened. I think a lot of people would have maybe pushed a lot of that to the side. But once you start losing, or once you start to quote unquote lose the fan base, and it seems like that had happened recently, there's going to be a push for moves to be made. I think it's interesting, they started this season off pretty poorly, and one of the kind of final straws. It's a different. So I'm an SEC guy, as you knew, Mike. Right? I'm an SEC. You're a Midwestern guy, Big Ten guy. The difference between what a noon Eastern start means for those two conferences is vast. If you're in that big noon, if you got a noon start for the Big Ten, you're excited. You think that's the prime spot to be in.
I'm old, man. I would rather sleep in a little bit. 3:30 is perfect for me.
I agree. I think that's not the case at LSU.
Right.
If they could have every game at 7 or 8, they would. Yes. And I think that slow start coupled with the announcement that the Florida game, homecoming, against one of your biggest rivals, your cross-division rival that you've played every year for the past 50 years, is going to start at, kick off at 11:06 local time. I was surprised that the stadium was, 60 or 70% full or whatever it was over the weekend. I was expecting nobody to be there. Maybe it looked worse in person, but it looked fine on TV. And I just kind of thought when that game time came out, I was like, okay, this might be it. And all the reports have said that this kind of separation agreement started before the Florida game. So it kind of was. But Florida game was fun. And then 24 hours later, you start already thinking about who's going to be the replacement. So fun times for my fellow Tiger grads.
Okay, you gave me a really nice seg. I am appointing you to be the guy leading the selection committee. Who's the first person you call?
James Franklin.
Okay. Why him?
I think Franklin is. I'll just say that if you win 9 games at Vanderbilt twice, like you know how to coach and do something. Vanderbilt is not a place that people win or even come close to winning. And so I think he's a talented recruiter. Penn State, as you know, their recruiting class next year is top 1 or 2 in the country.
Yes,
according to 247. I think that there
top
might
in the
be
Big Ten for sure.
Right. And I think they might have been number 1 for a while, and I think Alabama might have surpassed them. But I think, given the history that Scott Woodward, the athletic director, has, he is a guy who's taken big swings. He did it when he hired Kim Mulkey for women's basketball, a few months ago from Baylor. He's the guy who hired Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. He's the guy who hired Chris Peterson at Washington from Boise State. So he's a guy who's kind of made those calls, and basically makes candidates say no. I don't think it's going to be a situation where LSU doesn't even go after somebody that they might want. He's going to make them say no. And I think, it'd be really historic. It'd be really special to me if LSU had an African-American coach. I think there might be somewhat of a push to do that because of some of the problems that have been allegedly detailed regarding Orgeron. Maybe to kind of make the call. LSU's president is a black man, William Tate, who was hired within the past few months. But even all that aside, I think if you're looking at coaches who you might be able to pluck away from somewhere who have Power 5 experience. If James Franklin can recruit to State College, I think he could do a pretty good job doing it at Baton Rouge. So that's probably the first call I make, and at least gauge some interest there. Okay. I've got a long list if you want me to put that.
I told you I wouldn't keep you too long because this is your last day to rest before the season starts.
I've got nothing. I've got Monday Night Raws on over here in
Nice.
in my peripheral view. I'm good. I can talk forever.
Okay. I wanted to get your thoughts about this because I mean the timing really was crazy that it came up. I did.
I mean, we talked about before the Ole Miss game was what our initial plan was, not thinking that it would be the first game of a new era. I was just kind of saying,
right,
LSU will have a better record this week than when they play Alabama. So,
well, yeah, and that is the thing, having to go deal with the Death Star. Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate you taking me through that stuff. Do they need to get somebody in place before the early signing period, do you think?
No, I mean,
is that even possible?
I don't even think it's possible unless you bring in somebody who is, I'm tossing out big names and I'm not saying that they're candidates or anything at all, but unless you get someone who's not coaching right now, like a Bob Stoops or Chris Peterson, who I mentioned earlier, who is, I think just kind of a, special advisor at Washington or something. I don't think that is going to be something that's plausible. LSU by and large, kind of recruits itself. Kids in state, by and large, like they're going to the school, not necessarily the coach. The coach can certainly help, but if there's talented kids in the state who want to go to LSU, I think they're gonna either play the waiting game and see who the coach is, or just stay committed to the school. And Orgeron has said. He said today in his press conference, or Monday in his press conference, that I'm going to keep recruiting for LSU. I'm going to keep doing whatever I can, and I tend to believe him. He's a Louisiana guy. I don't think he's going to sabotage LSU or anything as intentionally, maybe unintentionally he has at times, but I don't think he's going to do that in terms of recruiting. So. But yeah, it's going to be a fun couple months to kind of look at the job search, and I'm going to be glued to Twitter and the betting odds and all this stuff to kind of see who's rising and falling. It's going to distract me from the NBA season. So
it's a pleasant distraction. That's okay.
Right.
That one I won't hurt you too much. Well, I appreciate you taking through that, going through that stuff with us. We're going to get to our regular program. And hopefully this will be a happier subject for you when we talk about we can take a look back at last weekend. What's the best thing you saw in college football last Saturday?
It was LSU beating Florida.
that's a softball. That is a softball.
Yeah, you knew I had to say that, right? Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, man. I when I was in school it was great. That rivalry is it's their one East versus West rival, so they play each other every year.
Okay.
Much like Alabama and Tennessee play every year, Georgia, Auburn. That's the one East versus West rival. They've played every year for the past 50. When I was in school, each school won. My 4 years of college, LSU and Florida combined to win 3 national titles. It was as I am painfully aware of. Yeah, right. Yes, the first one with Chris Leak and Tim Tebow, and then LSU won in 2007, and then the Tebow team in 2008. So I have a special place in my heart for disliking Florida. I remember being at the game when they were it was LSU was number 1, I think, and Florida's number 9, and a lot of students in the student section got Tim Tebow's cell number and called him throughout the week, and I think he had to change it. Just kids being kids, but
wow.
Yeah, I don't like Florida, and I'm glad LSU beat them 2 years in a row where Florida clearly was the better team. So that was I think that objectively was the best thing in college football this weekend, and I will not hear any other answer.
Okay, well, I mean, this is I'm going to take a stab at it because there was the first half and one play in particular. What was spectacular from my view. My Ohio Bobcats were playing at Buffalo. Right. This was a noon game. They led at halftime 21-10, and the highlight of that half was after a nice goal line stand, OU takes the ball over at their own 1 yard line. And Armani Rogers, OU's quarterback, is standing in his own end zone. Takes the snap, picks OU does a nice job of sealing the outside, sealing the left side of the line, and he just goes and he's gone.
Yeah.
Buffalo, a couple of Buffalo DBs took awful angles because the guy's not that fast. 99 yards, 99 yards touchdown. Yeah, it's fast enough. That's all you need. 99 yards. I guess ESPN says that that's the longest touchdown run by a quarterback in D1 history, which is a nice thing.
Wow. Yeah.
So we got that.
I think I realized
21-10 at halftime. Then OU scores only a field goal and a safety for the rest of the game, and they still won when Buffalo's kicker shanked a field goal attempt at the end of the game as time expired. Except that OU was offside on the play, and that kicker, Alex McNulty, kicked the winner on his second attempt. So, best thing was the first half. Not second best thing. Worst thing will be the second half.
That makes sense.
That was difficult. That was a little stressful. And that's the kind of silliness we can get into when you're talking about group of 5 games, boys and girls. And here is AJ. He's going to tell you what's coming up in that world this weekend. AJ, please.
Hello, everyone. It is this week's Week 8 Group of 5 Pac-12 After Dark report. I will have some very sad news about the After Dark portion of this later in this segment. We start on Friday, 6 p.m., Middle Tennessee at UConn. Now, why do I start with this game? Because UConn watch is real. UConn getting their very first win in 2 calendar years against Yale welcomes Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee, not great either. But hey, guess what? It's on CBS-SN, the network of champions. Over-under on this game, a.k.a. the AJ Fund Index, is 56. Middle's favored by 2 touchdowns. You can watch this game if you'd like. 7 p.m., Memphis at UCF. This used to be the big barn burner, big main event sort of game. And this year, they both have 3 losses. The Americans weird this year, other than the fact that Cincinnati is ranked number 2. That's right, group of top 5. We're here, but Memphis and UCF are not nearly what they usually are. However, the over-under on this game is 63, and UCF is favored by 1.5 at home, which means fun index at maximum. Also, this is being played in a place called the Bounce House. That's 7 p.m. ESPN2. 9:30 p.m. Colorado State at Utah State. Both of these teams doing way better than everyone really expected. Over under 58.5, so this could fare well. Colorado State minus 3.5. This is honestly one of the low-key sleeper Mountain West games that you may find interesting. 9:30 p.m. So when you're done watching UConn possibly win or lose, who's to say, you can just keep the channel on and watch Colorado State, Utah State. Do not watch Washington, Arizona. That game will be gross. Also, it's on ESPN2 at 10:30 at night. Anyways, moving on to Saturday. Noon slate. Looking a little rough because Big Ten teams like Penn State and Michigan are playing bad Big Ten teams like Northwestern and Illinois. Do not watch those games unless you hate yourself. Okay? However, at noon, we've got Maction. We haven't talked about the MAC in the Group of 5 After Dark report, much to crappy chagrin. Northern Illinois going to Central Michigan. This game could get really, really good. Both of these teams are very highly winning in the MAC. And the over-under right now is 58. So this could get pointsy and stupid. Let's let it happen. We're going to scroll on past most of the rest of the noon games and down into the 3:30 slot where we have Oregon at UCLA at 3:30 on ABC. This is effectively a potential Pac-12 title game preview. UCLA favored by 2. I don't know why. Over-under in this game, 59.5. Chip Kelly going back against his the team where he had his greatest successes. This could be really fun, and it's on national television. Wow. But the games I really wanted to talk about are down in the 7 p.m. slot because we've got Mountain West bangers this week. Number 22 San Diego State, 6-0, going to Fort Collins. No, is that Fort Collins? Yes, Fort Collins, to play Air Force. This game should be over in a tidy 56 minutes because both teams run the absolute crap out of the ball. Neither team is going to throw the ball. They just don't do that. So this game should be nice and tidy. The over-under on this game is 40. Very low fun index, but what we lack in fun, we make up in efficiency. That should be a really great game. Also at 7 p.m. on Likely Stadium, we've got UTSA, first time ever ranked at number 24, going to Ruston, Louisiana to play Louisiana Tech. Meep yet again. UTSA -7. Their defense is suspect, but over under a 60, this game should be pretty fun. Additionally, in the 7 p.m. hour, we've got Nevada at Fresno. Y'all, the over-under in this game is 65, and I need you to hammer the over because you've got Carson Strong and Jake Hayner throwing haymakers all game. This is on FS2. You may need to find that channel. It might be on your cable guide. We do not know where it is, but it's there, and you should watch this game. Nevada at Fresno State at 7 p.m. Now, I need to tell you about the Pac-12 night game, which is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on Pac-12 Network. It's Utah at Oregon State. This game should actually be very good. Utah favored by 3, over under 56.5. Both teams coming off some fairly big wins this year, so this should be good. But there's no late slate this week. There's no 10 p.m. games. There's no 9 p.m. games. There's no 10:30 games. This is an attack by college football on me personally, really. But there is one game in the deep late slate, and that is my beloved Hawaii Rainbow Warriors welcoming New Mexico State. Hawaii should win this game handily because New Mexico State is very bad and Hawaii is very good on the Big Island. So I expect to see some fireworks very, very late at night. But, if you don't want to watch Hawaii football, I don't deny you that, especially if you're an East Coast person. So you might actually just get like a regular bedtime this week. Good night, Crappy. You can just go to bed early this week. This has been your Group of 5 report. My name's AJ. Hopefully we'll have a late slate next week. Who's to say? The college football gods may just hate the late slate anymore. They've been doing too many of those 9 p.m. SEC games, and I think that got them all riled up, and they said, no, back to 4 o'clock where you belong. So that's it. And I'll throw it back to Crappy and our special guest. Thanks.
AJ, thank you. Do you watch a lot of Group of 5 football when you have a chance?
I tell you, I watch as much Sunbelt football as I can. I'm an LSU grad, but I am a proud native of Lafayette, Louisiana, and the Raging Cajuns. Raging Cajuns have been doing pretty well the past few years. Crushed
my Bobcats in the season opener.
A couple of double-digit win seasons, and I'll tell you, they've got a guy there, Billy Napier, whose name could pop up in the LSU coaching search. He's a guy who obviously knows the area well, knows Louisiana, has had a few years of some sustained success. He coached at Alabama as I believe he was the wide receivers coach for in the 2014, 15, 16 region. Coaching receivers, so he's kind of familiar with the conference. That'd be a big jump to get up to from UL Lafayette to LSU, but might be worth a phone call. So yeah, I'll try to
worth a try.
Keep up with Sunbelt as much as I can. I've got nothing but love for my hometown Raging Cajuns. It's kind of like you, right? It's like your hometown. You gotta maybe it's a different level, but the hometown.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Did the Sun Belt do something weird, like declare them co-champions with Coastal last year? Just the way everything worked out.
You know what? I can't remember. I think they might have, because I'm not sure if they actually played in the championship. I feel like it might have been a situation where they were supposed to play, and then there was a COVID issue with one of the teams or something.
That sounds
just
right.
kind of were the co-champions.
I know,
but they beat Appalachian State recently, so that's one of the teams you gotta. Yeah, that's one of the teams you gotta pay attention to in the conference. So, but yeah, Coastal's good.
It would be, and Coastal's rolling again. I talked with AJ about that last week. So I would love to see that game. That would be a fun title game to take in.
They should play, and then LSU should call whichever coach wins. That's what I think should happen.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Let's call it the LSU Bowl and go from there. We're gonna stop from a group of 5 after dark. We're gonna take one brief foray, our weekly brief foray into FCS After Dark, which was actually after dark last week. They played on Friday. I have two awesome things to report. First, Cornell picked up its first win of the season, 34-28 against Colgate on Friday night at Shellcop Field in Ithaca. Second, my nephew, Drew Powell, got his first 2 carries as a college football player. Now, his stat line, 2 carries, net 1 yard. That's thanks largely to the unblocked outside linebacker who met him right after he took his first handoff deep in the backfield. Drew actually broke that tackle, but was slowed down enough that he was stopped for a 1 yard loss there.
He got a stat line. I could look in ESPN.com and there's my nephew. Yeah. With the staff line. That's pretty awesome. Obviously, I'm stoked on both accounts. Hoping that fun continues. Saturday again at home. Cornell hosts Brown, which has the same record, 1-4 and 0-2 in the Ivy League. So I'm hopeful that this can A, turn into a winning streak for the Big Red, and B, turn into a couple more carries for number 30, number 1 in our hearts, number 30 in your program, number 30 with the white shoes, number 30 with the white shoes. The starting middle linebacker is a kid from Seneca Valley. Actually, I can't remember what his name is, but he is 30 with the black shoes. Drew is 30 with white shoes. However that works. It's a good way to separate it. Yeah. It's clear.
Okay, we have our big boy games to talk about as well. And we're going to start with the one that Tyler's going to be paying attention to. 3:30 on Saturday. This is LSU at number 12, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is favored by 9.5 points, and the over/under, what we're calling the AJ Fun Index, is an exceptional 75.5 points. Tyler, I'm going to let you take the first crack at this one. What do you think?
Look, I can't. My gut. My gut tells me, my mind tells me one result, and my heart tells me another. And there's no way I can't.
On this show, we typically, when that stuff comes up, we typically go with our hearts.
Absolutely, I think LSU is going to go to Oxford and win. LSU is going to Oxford, beating Ole Miss. They did it last year. They obviously Ole Miss is a team with a lot of offensive firepower. Their defense is not that great. So LSU, maybe it could be a track meet type game like LSU had this past week against Florida. I think they're going to go there and they're going to show out. They're going to win, and Lane Kiffin's going to realize that LSU has some athletes, and he's going to pick up the phone when LSU calls, and he's going to be a finalist for the LSU job.
Okay.
I'm hijacking this podcast, Mike. This is the best week for this.
This is why I have you on, and this is why it worked out so well.
Hey, Kiffin was almost there a couple years ago. Orgeron wanted to hire him as offensive coordinator, and then FAU took the FAU head coaching job. Those two obviously have a past, detailed past. When Kiffin got fired, Orgeron took over as interim coach. Orgeron was his defensive line coach at Tennessee, so I'm sure those two are talking this weekend. Maybe Lane will help out his buddy and maybe call off the dogs early. I don't know.
Okay. It's interesting. I mean, LSU can win this game. There's no, if you watched on the Florida game, there is no shortage of talent there.
Oh, the talent's there. Yep.
I mean, this is a team that can compete with almost anybody.
Right.
There are questions. I read something today. Ole Miss's quarterback's a little dinged up.
Yeah, Mackerel is questionable, and Orgeron said maybe it's might be a situation of Kiffin just kind of not being completely forthcoming with his good friend over on the other side. But
that could be.
But he's good. Their quarterback is good.
He is a lot of fun to watch. I wonder. I don't know if Ed has completely lost his current team. I think about 1987 when Ohio State announced the week before the Michigan game that they were firing Earl Bruce, and the team really rallied around him and upset Michigan in Ann Arbor. That was a game that they should not have won. They had a really rough year. I don't know if that kind of sentiment exists for Ed Orgeron in the program. You might be a better person to answer that question.
Well, I mean, I think if it did, you would have seen it pop up against Florida. I think after the Kentucky loss by, losing to Kentucky by 21. No disrespect to Kentucky, they're a good team, but it's still Kentucky football. Mm-hmm. I think if he would have quote unquote lost the team completely, you would have seen it pop up at a 11 o'clock game against Florida, or at least seen some signs of it. It doesn't look like that was the case.
That's a good point.
Orgeron is really good when he's an interim. He was good at USC. He was good at LSU. Like interim coach Ed Orgeron is maybe the best coach of all time.
So we should change his title this week.
Yeah, let's change his title and see what happens. Yeah, let's go. let's get to that Capital One Bowl or Outback Bowl or something. Make it successful.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't wait to face Iowa in January 1st or whatever.
That's you wonder about stuff like that. I mean, how does the team respond to stuff this kind of news and what's going on behind the scenes? As I said, LSU can win this game. I have no question about that in my mind. I mean, if we're talking about money, I think you probably need to pick Ole Miss. I will be cheering for LSU. Absolutely.
But your wallet will not.
My wallet's going to sit this one out, I think. But I love watching Lane Kiffin get twitchy. He's almost as fun when he's uncomfortable as Jim Harbaugh is. So that's a fun thing, and hopefully that will be the outcome on Saturday. The next game is sort of an outlier for the Carla and Crappy Show, because it just that we have a history with this matchup, but it's in a different way. At 3:30 on Saturday in the Mustard Bowl, which is like right over my shoulder. You can see it. If you squint, it's right there. Clemson at number 23 Pitt. Let me repeat that. Clemson at number 23 Pitt. The Panthers are favored by 3. The AJ Fundex is a fairly weak 46.5 points. Obviously, you've been involved covering college sports here in town for several years. What do you think about Pitt this year?
I think Pitt is good.
Yeah.
I think Pitt's going to win the ACC, man. I think they lost to Western Michigan, and it was kind of like, I remember I told our good pal, Sean Gentili, also at The Athletic, who I remember saying, I've never been more convinced that Pitt's going to win the Coastal. After they lost to Western Michigan, it seemed like a foregone conclusion, and that's
the dumb game that Pitt always loses,
right? And then they
got it out of the way,
or got it early, and they went down to beat Virginia Tech. They beat Tennessee, which is Tennessee's okay, but that's still a tough place to go down and play. At Neyland Stadium, 100,000, as you saw. With Tennessee and Ole Miss, those fans are rowdy. So no, man, I just think Clemson is not that great. They don't have that all-world talent at quarterback and at running back like they've had in the past, and they've got some athletes on the outside, but schematically and stuff, it's just not clicking. And I think Pitt is, if they can just not think about this game in too big of a fashion, and I mean, on paper they should win given the season they've had. So I think it's going to be a big weekend for the Panthers. I'm interested to see what the crowd is like. That's a game that you should sell out or get pretty close.
Yes.
With even if Clemson is unranked, that name brand coming to town on a 3:30 start, like that place should have at least 50,000 people in it. But we'll see if that actually happens.
I don't know. I know it does not happen very often.
No, not at all.
We when they were both still in the Big East, there was a game. Cincinnati came here for ostensibly the Big East title. I don't think the Big East had a title game. And my dad wanted to go, so I got 4 tickets for my wife and my folks, and we wanted to cheer for Pitt to beat Cincinnati because Cincinnati fans are obnoxious, and in-state thing. It's difficult to explain.
No, I get it.
And that game was a sellout, and that's you get a brief sense of what college football in Pittsburgh could be or used to be or whatever is the case. Obviously, the Penn State games here in the interim have sold out or sold very, very well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Specifically. But yeah, God, Pitt fans. I mean, one of these two quarterbacks is getting Heisman Trophy discussions, and it's not the guy wearing orange, right? Pitt's got.
Can he flick it? Can he flick it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even a Pitt fan thing. I mean, I'm not going to be in town this weekend because of a wedding back home in Louisiana. But if you're a fan of college football, you've got a big one of the biggest brand names, and you got a ranked team in your backyard. If the weather's nice, it'd be something to just go out and experience. Even if you're not going to stay the whole game, go out and watch watch some college football for an hour and a half or 2 hours. If you're not a big Pitt fan,
because Ohio State doesn't play till 7:30. I could. Huh.
Yeah, and you're a hop, skipping a jump away from the mustard bowl out in your area. So go down and give me a FaceTime, and I'll watch the game as I get ready for this wedding. Okay. Listen, I mean, as far as I think what's going to happen, I mean, I know everybody in the ACC is like, ooh, I can't wait till Clemson shows up on the schedule because this is like the Clemson revenge tour, for the last 6 or 7 years. Pitt should win this. It is that simple. And I think you just jinxed it. Now,
I know.
You said Pitt should win it. Now they're going to lose by 50.
It's I mean, I wouldn't. You and I both seen it happen before, but I think that's I might go watch. I don't know. I might have to.
It should be fun. It'd be fun.
Fun. At 7:30 on Saturday. I was not thinking this was going to be fun at the beginning of the season. Number 5 Ohio State at Indiana. Ohio State is favored by 19.5 points. The AJ Fun Index is a respectable 60 points. I was terrified about this game in the summer. that is mellowed out now, and you
sense.
You are as angsty a college football fan as I am. What do you see with this one?
I mean, I think the cliche thing is to worry about this kind of being a quote unquote trap game, just because Penn State is next weekend, is Halloween weekend, and I know that game is in Columbus, but you kind of start to look at, okay, Iowa lost. Oh, no question. If you're Iowa lost, they're not out of the picture because they'll probably still win the West, but they certainly look beatable, and one of the Michigan teams are going to beat each other in a couple of weeks. So you start to look at, man, if we can just get past Penn State, Halloween weekend, will be in a good position, and you kind of overlook, an Indiana team. Obviously, Penix is a big loss. So he's still out, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's out.
I haven't heard anything about this week. So he's they keep saying week to week. So he could play.
I think it's going to be a blowout in Ohio State's favor. I mean, I just think the talent discrepancy. Ohio State is, they started out, that Minnesota game was rough, and then they obviously lost to Oregon. But the past few games they've looked, they've embarrassed Maryland and Rutgers and Akron. Like I think they've got confidence, and I think it'll be a relatively easy afternoon or evening, I should say, this Saturday. But it's college football. We'll see. I just said LSU was going to beat Ole Miss, so so who knows what'll happen?
It's totally legit. As I said, I was looking at the schedule. Michael Penix was played out of his mind last year,
right?
And they pushed Ohio State harder than anybody, harder than Clemson, maybe in the semifinal.
Right.
So you look at that and it's like, his injury, even before the injury, he was not playing like he did.
Right.
And I think like a couple, 2 or 3 touchdowns to 7 picks or something like that. I'm trying to think of that off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'll tell you that game that Ohio State has to look for now is they got Purdue, which now is like a game that you got to have to pay attention to. That maybe like you didn't a few weeks ago.
I don't know what it is about the damn Indiana teams. And that's the other thing about Indiana is that, and Carla and I have talked about this for several years. They give Ohio State fits. I don't know why. And it's they never play defense against the Buckeyes, but they score and they score and they score. Yeah. And you look at the scoreboard and it's 42-35, and I'm like, what are we doing? I think this will be better. I mean, it should be that offense will still be a nice test for Ohio State's defense, was just sort of recovering from the shell shock of the early part of the season. Really young on the back end. So that's a good test before we start Murderers Row next weekend. Because the finish of the season, especially the Big Ten East games are just insane. And it's a round robin, it's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State. They all play each other. It's going to be entertaining as hell, but not going to help my heartburn a whole lot. And then you throw Purdue into that as well. Anyway, this game. So I'm cool with testing the defense. That's something that will be helpful later on. Ohio State's offense has been looking fantastic the last couple games. So regardless of what happens on the other side of the ball, Ohio State's going to score and score a lot. And then we can start thinking about Penn State. This fourth game at 7:30 Saturday, USC at number 13 Notre Dame. ND is favored by 7. The AJ Fundex, a fair 58 points. I have to give you some background on this. We have a thing on the show called the Stanford Postulate, which holds that Tree loses the games that it should not and wins the games that it should not. This has held up fairly well over the past few years. AJ has proposed a new a variant of this. He's calling it the USC postulate. This holds, and this is just for this year. This is just his observations for this year. The Trojans, at least in 2021, win on the road, but not in the friendly confines of the LA Coliseum. We're going to test that this week. And that's really the only reason why I included this game, because I'm not sure that this game has any bearing on anything besides this. So do you have a feeling one way or the other about how this game's going to go?
No, I mean, I tell you, I haven't paid too much attention to USC. I'll be honest, since Clay Helton got fired. I have a couple of good friends who are Notre Dame fans, so I politely pull against Notre Dame whenever we are talking. I think Notre Dame still, they still have a lot to play for in a sense. Like they have a loss, but you've seen that, besides Georgia, everybody else up there, Cincinnati obviously is undefeated, but there are teams that, Michigan, you would imagine is going to have a loss at some point. I'm sure you hope at least two or three.
I would imagine at least one.
Right. Yeah. Penn State's already has a loss. You've got Oregon has a loss. So Notre Dame deceptively, they're Notre Dame. They could sneak in and be at least in that conversation. I just don't see USC, doing it and pulling it off this week. I think it'll probably be a typical Notre Dame game, like a lot of Notre Dame games where it's way closer than you think it should be on paper, but in the end they end up winning by like a touchdown or 10 points or something.
The Nuns do something and then something happens.
And they win it. They'll probably be fine. I'd like USC to win, but I've got a buddy who actually used to be on LSU staff who's on USC staff now, and he's a real good guy, and I know he's enjoyed his time out in Southern California. So for him, my heart, I'll pull for him, but I just don't know if it's going to happen.
Okay. My interest in this is mostly scientific. To see if we can
more than me
prove the USC postulate to be true or false. I again, this is a situation where it not unlike LSU. SC is talented. They're not. I don't think they're talented like they were in the Reggie Bush years, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, et cetera, et cetera. But, SC should have enough talent on the roster to beat teams when they're paying attention, when they're interested in the game. And that could happen here.
Right.
You remember my intern Gabby, who went to Notre Dame a couple years ago.
Yep.
She was actually a guest host the week of the ND Cincinnati game. And I had to tell her that Cincinnati was going to win that, and she was a little mad at me. I think SC could win this game.
Right.
I'm gonna lean Notre Dame, I think. But this is not at all the automatic thing that Notre Dame fans might assume. I think it'll be a tight one, and maybe some of that weird Notre Dame magic happens at the end, and they get that to pull this out. But so I will pick Notre Dame for this one. Boys and girls, you can hear the Carla and Crappy Show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, and a bunch of other podcasting services. You can watch us on YouTube and on the show's Facebook page. If you like us, please subscribe, rate, and review. If you don't, mind your own damn business, and be sure to come back next week when you can see exactly. Tyler won't be with us, but you can see exactly how wrong I was. Tyler, what is your one final thing for college football this week?
I really enjoy those Wendys commercials that Reggie Bush has been doing. They're funny.
They are good. They're
funny. He pokes some fun in himself, and the food looks good. I've never had Wendys that looks that good. I've had Wendys that looks good, but I have not never commercial quality.
Have you ever had breakfast from Wendys?
I had breakfast once.
Never.
Once.
I never have.
I live not that far from a Wendys, and it's always confusing whether the drive-thru is open or not. Gone there and been told in the morning that that no, it's drive-thru only, and then that's a depressing walk back. But I don't think Reggie Bush has anything to do with that. Those commercials
is that the one at 40th and Butler?
No, this the one on Baum.
Okay.
On Baum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
moved over the past since I left the paper, so that's a different Wendys. I'm closer to a different Wendys now.
Okay,
yeah.
That's cool. I have to drive by McDonald's when I go to, if I was going to go get breakfast at Wendys, and I'm just like, I'm kidding.
I'll just go to McDonald's. Yeah,
it's right there. But yeah, those commercials are good. Are you as tired as I am of Fansville? Does anybody like those anymore?
I don't. I'll tell you, this was going to be my other one final thing, but now I'm just going to bring it up because I'm just going to use it. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm confused as to why Joe Burrow isn't in the Heisman House commercials.
That's a really good point.
I imagine it was because he was rehabbing his knee, but you could kind of stand up
with that.
Yeah. Like Devontae Smith has popped up in it, and Kyler Murray, but they've skipped Burrow, and I don't know why. If anybody out there has an answer, please let me know. It's been a big question mark of between me and some of my friends. We want answers to this. Why is Joe Burrow not in the Heisman House?
That had not occurred to me before, and I love those spots. And I love that Baker Mayfield is so willing to make fun of himself.
Right.
Those things those are so awesome. If you see the full length Auburn celebration commercial where Baker's stuck in the bathroom going, "Hey guys, I need some toilet paper," and you're taking it all. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can find it on YouTube or whatever. But those spots are excellent. That had not occurred to me that he's not.
I don't know why.
This is a good time to point out. I am.
Oh yes.
Can you see the nameplate on that? This one, I'm claiming. I think we talked about this. I think we claim Joe Burrow is the 7.5, if that's a word, Heisman Trophy winner at Ohio State.
Yeah,
I think
that word.
There's some percentage in there. As
long as the total is 1.5, because it can't be half LSU, half Ohio State. Be half Ohio. That I'm not a math major, but we still get full credit. That's some extra credit.
All right, that's fair. I can deal with that. For those of you guys who are listening to the podcast, I am wearing my Ohio State jersey that is Joe Burrow's. And we know how that goes. But that is an excellent point. And that has not occurred to me. He's got to show up in those at some time soon.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was because he won right after, that summer was the pandemic, and they didn't film any, but that doesn't preclude the most recent ones, because I know Devontae Smith has popped up in one.
Archie Griffin's in there polishing both of his Heisman trophies.
Right. Yeah.
So if Archie's in there, he's got to be okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
My one final thing is I'm taking advantage of the fact that you are with us. I am not going to ask you to tell me what all the Cleveland Cavaliers need to do to return to relevance, because we don't. There's not time. There's not time for that. I will ask you the two NBA finalists and who will win the finals this year.
Oh goodness. I can tell you who I picked in our the Athletics preseason prediction.
That works. That's totally fine.
That came out earlier in the week.
Okay.
It came out on Tuesday. And I honestly don't remember, so I have to now check. I'm pretty sure I was boring. Yeah, I went Brooklyn over Utah in the finals.
Okay.
I think we're just going to see a season where Harden and Durant are just kind of upset and saying we're still two of the best five players in the league, and we're going to make this work. And I think it could be the whole Kyrie Irving situation could be a little deceptively beneficial, because they'll be able to put another guard with Harden who can maybe play defense, kind of lock somebody down, and just have Harden and Durant be those scorers. So yeah, I think Brooklyn gets the title. I think Utah finally gets over the hump and makes it to the finals after a couple of really good seasons. So yeah, Brooklyn winning the NBA championship.
Okay. I know you're a Lakers fan. I am a LeBron fan,
as much as one can be with in this job. Yeah. Purple and gold.
Sure. How's their season going to go? I mean, I don't know all the changes that they've been through. Can they make it deep in the playoffs?
I think this sounds cliche, but it's going to come down to health. They have a lot of players who are, older for basketball, but I think what's going to help them in the regular season is that LeBron James doesn't have to always kind of initiate offense, because Russell Westbrook will be there.
Yeah.
But what the problem might be is when we get to the playoffs and LeBron is like, okay, now it's my time. Russell Westbrook will be like, well, no, I've been doing this for 4 months. So, if they stay healthy and all the pieces are in place that are there now, I they could very easily make the finals and win it all. I just kind of think the odds are against them with everybody being healthy, and you've already saw that kind of happen. They've got a couple guys who are rotation players who are already out for the start of the season. So it'll be tough. It'll be tough. It's a long season, and it'll be fun to watch. So they're a team, LeBron or not, that people just got to pay attention to. So I'm interested to see how that big three fits.
Okay. Boys and girls, that is basketball wisdom. From Tyler Batiste, who is the NBA managing editor at The Athletic. You've also heard a fair amount of college football wisdom from Tyler Batiste, who
that's right,
is gonna figure something out with his LSU Tigers. We don't know how that's gonna go, but James Franklin would be a killer hire there. That would be a good one. And we will watch and see how that turns out, and we will watch and see what happens with LSU at Ole Miss. I'm always in favor of a twitchy Lane Kiffin. So go Tigers. Tyler, dude, I really appreciate this. Thank you very much. It's great to talk to you again.
No, this was fun, man. Thanks for inviting me a few months ago, and I'm glad the timing worked out as perfectly and as heartbreakingly as it did.
Unbelievable. Boys and girls, enjoy the games this weekend, and we will be back. We will be back to talk to you about rivalry week number 1 with Ohio State and Penn State next week. Tyler, thank you, my friend. Thank you, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.